So hello everyone, it's the Cricket Connoisseur here and welcome to another 2020 IPL preview show. On today's show, I'm joined by cricket fanatic Part Singh Rao, and in today's show we'll be covering the men in purple, the mighty Kolkata Knight Riders. So first things first, Part, thank you very much for coming onto the show today, mate. How excited are you for the IPL to finally get underway in 2020?
First of all, really appreciate you having me, Aaron, on the show. Really excited, man. We haven't had top quality cricket before the England series already. So it's been a long time. I've watched quality cricket and I'm really excited to get started on the IPL, especially when teams are looking so balanced and all the squads are really well fueled. So
yeah, 100%. And you've mentioned the squads there. Every single team this year seems to be so well balanced. It's going to be a fantastic tournament. I have absolutely no doubt about that. But let's talk about the Kolkata Knight Riders squad. So for all of you at home who don't know, the squad is as follows. Nitish Rana, Shubman Gill, Rinku Singh, Sidesh Lad, Owen Morgan, Rahul Tripathi, Andre Russell, Dinesh Karthik, Tom Banton, Nikhil Naik, Sunil Narain, Kuldeep Yadav, Varun Chakravarti, Manimaran Siddharth, Chris Green, Kamlesh Nagarkoti, Shivam Marvi, Prashid Krishna, Lockie Ferguson, Sandeep Warrior, and Pat Cummins. So it's a very strong squad part. What do you make of the Kolkata Knight Riders heading into this tournament?
The problem has been for KKR so far that there were top players who were injured during the season. So what KKR did really well in this auction, they bought the players which fill in the gaps that if anybody gets injured, they have like-for-like replacement. KKR ticked all the boxes in the auction. They know that they were missing because of Mitchell Stark quit in the previous season. So they need to fill in the gap of top-notch bowler who can lead the pace attack. And they went ahead with Patty Cummins over there. I think they ticked in all the boxes, and the side is looking pretty settled for me so far. And if they do according to their strengths, I will not be surprised if they end up in playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very strong squad. And as you mentioned, I suppose the standout auction purchase was Pat Cummins, the most expensive seamer by far. He went for, 15 crore? Which is worth $2 million US. That is an insane amount of money. But we all know his caliber. He is an elite. He's a world-class bowler, not only in T20 cricket, but in general. So I think he's going to be a fantastic addition. Has previous IPL experience for the Delhi Daredevils as well. So I think that's a fantastic signing for the Knight Riders. And as you mentioned, it is a very strong squad. So in terms of specifics, what do you think are the massive strengths of this Kolkata team heading into this tournament?
I think Kolkata, they're really settled. They're looking really settled. So if you were a captain and the coach of this team, it will not give you selection headaches. You know who are the 11, 12 players who walk in your side. I think they have the top 6 who walk for themselves in any kind of team in the world. So they're looking really settled in the top 6. And as I said, which was the problem in the previous seasons, they ticked the boxes in the bench strength. So let's say in the middle of the season, anybody were to get injured or you want to manage the workload for the likes of Pat Cummins or Andrew Russell, you have the like-for-like replacement who can actually come into the side and add the value to the team rather than getting lost in the middle of the season.
Yeah, definitely. That's a massive strength. And we're going to keep on mentioning this. They have such a strong overseas contingent. They really do. You mentioned Chris Green. Chris Green has experience in the UAE, in the T10. He's also played in the PSL. So he's going to know the conditions. So, and he might not even start a game in this year's IPL. But as you said, it's depth. And that is what is so important in a tournament of this length. I mean, you look at the other overseas players. Owen Morgan, England's limited overs captain. Dre Russ, Superman himself. We don't really need to talk about him. He is an insanely good player. You've got Sunil Narain again. He's been turning it round corners in these UAE conditions. And then the likes of Lockie Ferguson, Pat Cummins. Oh, it's a fantastic team. And Tom Banton as well. It's just a really strong team. And then in terms of another strength, maybe not strength, but I'm really excited by some of the Knight Riders players. So the likes of Shubman Gill, the likes of Shivam Marvi, Kamlesh Nagarkoti, who we haven't really seen in the IPL as of yet. But I can't wait to see those guys. Marvi and Nagarkoti could be a really good young duo to have as the season goes along. And as we mentioned, Shubman Gill, we'll talk a bit about him as the show goes along, but he's a fantastic young batsman. He really is.
Certainly. And when you mentioned the young guys who are there in the team, one thing we have to keep in mind that the next IPL is within 8 months, and there's no auction in the middle. So if somebody's having a bad season in this IPL, they know that they have actually good young core for the likes of Tom Banton or Chris Green, who can actually start in the next IPL, which is within a period of 7 months. So they have also kept in mind that the next IPL is going to be coming soon, and they have the potential players who can actually replace the big guns if they do not perform up to their potential.
Yeah, that is an excellent point, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, it's going to be interesting 2021 as well, as a repercussion of obviously these uncertain times. But as I said, on the flip side, every team has weaknesses. And I do think there is one particular weakness in what we've just said. You could argue that the seam attack, without Harry Gurney, for example, could be quite inexperienced. We mentioned Marvi, Nagarkoti as well. Prasidh Krishna, he was pretty good last year. I must admit, I did quite like watching Prasidh Krishna and Sandeep Warrior. But again, it's not ridiculously experienced. I do think there's stronger seam attacks in the IPL this year. Would you concur with that path, or is there anything else that you notice in this KKR lineup which is a weakness?
For sure. I mean, there's a lot of potential for the likes of Shivam Mavi and Kamlesh Nagarkoti. We have all seen how they did in the Under-19 World Cup.
Yeah.
But Pat Cummins, they're paying huge price not only for the player he is, but he has to lead the pace attack. He has to lead. He has to lead the likes of Kamlesh Nagarkoti and Shivam Mavi and Prasidh Krishna, because that's a huge concern. And if Pat Cummins will not give you 14 games, their Indian bowling lineup is really inexperienced. So let's say if you're bowling to Virat Kohli or MS Dhoni, and these bowlers does not have experience of that potential. So, I mean, there's a huge learning to go along the way. But as I mentioned, there will be a huge factor in Pat Cummins leading the pace attack. And if he does that, he can lead the pace attack really well. He can mentor the young bowlers of for the likes I mentioned. I think they can fill those boxes. But again, it's a huge challenge.
Yeah, it is 100%. We haven't mentioned Lockie Ferguson. I suppose if they really needed that kind of boost in the seam department, I suppose you could bring him in as well with his express pace. But yeah, that's the only thing that really stands out for me. Other than that, it's a very, very well-balanced squad. You could argue maybe a slight lack of all-rounders, but saying that, though, they've still got an incredibly strong team. And either way, I think they're going to be challenging this year, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So moving on from the squad itself, let's talk about a player to watch. Now, we've just mentioned three incredible young players in Shivam Marvi, Kamlesh Nagarkoti, and Shubman Gill. Parth, who really stands out for you in this KKR lineup? Who do you think that the fans at home should really be looking out for in this lineup in 2020?
I guess Shubman Gill is one of the players to watch out for. He needs that 500-run season to actually bring KKR to the next spot. And not to forget that he was traveling with Team India in New Zealand and in the home tour as well. And Prithvi Shaw was considered ahead of him. And if I'm Shubman Gill, I will have that raging fire that, I have to walk in the Indian team. So the whole world is watching. And we have all seen since the time he has opened for KKR, he had scored 350s already. So if Shubman Gill can consistently give you those 70s, those 60s or 50 balls, or he anchored the innings so far, then you see Morgan and Dinesh Karthik can play along with him, and then of course we know how Russell can demolish the opponent.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Shubman Gill is actually my choice for player to watch for this season. For those at home, his stats in 2019, 14 matches. As you said, the run tally wasn't quite there last year, only 296 runs, decent average of 32.88, but the strike rate, really unlike Shubman Gill, 124.36. And I just thought that last season, slightly underwhelming considering just how good a young player he is. And I said this season, I'm expecting at the very least 400 plus, if not 500, given the responsibility that he has at the top of the order. He's got the competition from Tom Banton as well. And as you rightfully said as well, when he comes to the party, I just remember the score, 76 against Mumbai at Eden Gardens, which KKR won in that match by about 30 odd runs. When he really comes into his element, he is such a wonderfully gifted player to watch. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we get to see just a smidge of that in this year's tournament. So I think he has really got a load of potential and talent, and is definitely one to watch for the future.
And really interesting, as you mentioned, that since the time he has opened for KKR, because he was competing with the likes of Lin and Narayan for that opening spot. I mean, KKR already rated him as a player, so he was starting in at number 5 or number 6. but he could not bring that value. Now, the KKR management is clear with his role. They will give him 14 games. You open the batting for us and you deliver for us. So the clarity of role is really clear for Shubman Gill this season. And as I said, if he certainly gets those 14 games, has the security that you're going to, our opener, you open for the 14 games, he will certainly deliver.
Yeah, I completely concur with that 100%. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing him do his thing in the UAE. But yeah, moving on from specific players, I suppose, now we go on to arguably the most interesting part of the preview show. The one where everyone disagrees, everyone has their own opinions. And for anyone at home watching this as well, please feel free to put your predicted lineups as well as ours in the comment below. But Pat, I'll go with you first on this one. Who would you go with in your strongest Kolkata Knight Riders 11 for 2020?
Well, that's the fun part, isn't it? Because everybody have their own permutations and combinations,
Yeah.
and there's no right answer.
Exactly.
And I'll start with Shubman Gill and Sunil Narayan as openers. Sunil Narayan, he will going to tonk one ball here and there. He will not certainly give me a stand for 10 overs, which I would have liked to. But if he gives me that power play of 54 runs along with Shubman Gill, and when Shubman can take his time, and considering that there will be a lot of teams using spin options in the power play. So if Sunil Narayan can capitalize on that, then we are good here. We can see some good power plays. We can see some good power plays for KKR. And then, of course, following by Nitish Rana, he'll be the left-hander at number 3, giving that role of the anchor. Interesting thing for Nitish Rana is where does he come to bat? Let's say if he comes in the power play, he has a different role. But if he comes after 10th over, you know that there is Morgan, Karthik, and Russell waiting. So you can actually keep him at down the order.
Yes,
and you
I'd
could put
agree.
in Morgan at number 3, and okay, there's 10 overs already gone, but which seems highly unlikely that Sunil Narayan will bat for 10 overs. So again, Nitish Rana will come in number 3 for me. He selects for himself Indian player. They do not have Robin Uthappa. They let him go, so he has to adapt to that role and give that stability in the middle overs which they want. And then number 4, best in the world, best white ball player in the world right now at middle order, Ian Morgan, the World Cup winning captain. I think this deal was stellar, wasn't it? I mean, the auction, he was selected for 3 crores, I guess.
Oh, 5 crore, either way.
5 crores. So KKR capitalized on that situation. They got the number for which they wanted, and Ian Morgan. But again, as I mentioned with Pat Cummins, I'd really like him to be in the leadership group of KKR. He's not only coming as a player, but he comes into leadership group because he is experienced. He has this he is the world champion right now. So if he brings that value along with Dinesh Karthik, I think he's going to be, he will be MVP for me, potential MVP, most valuable player for me this season. And he's the player to watch out for KKR because such a good deal. He will fill in the slot for middle overs. And we know that, the players who bat in this position, they dictate the scenario of the game. And I think nobody is better than Ian Morgan in that situation.
Yeah, I completely concur with that. And yes, obviously, I think he's most people's number 4 choice for KKR this season. And heading into the middle order then, who have you got in your middle order for KKR?
So, of course, after Ian Morgan, there will be Dinesh Karthik. I think if he capitalizes in that situation, he can actually, be a great match along with Morgan and between Russell. So Dinesh Karthik will be the number 5, followed by, of course, Dre Russell, no words to add. We all know what he's capable of, what he can bring to the table. And he had a CPL of ups and downs, but again, it's IPL we are talking about. And there comes a big situation, and therein comes the big man who brings that value to the table. So I think middle order looks pretty settled. Ian Morgan, Dinesh Karthik, and Andre Russell. And as I mentioned, if they need to make Nitish Rana as their floater, of course, all of them can go one slot up and play enough deliveries to bring that 180 or 200 run target. So it looks pretty settled in terms of Karthik, Russell, and Morgan, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. In fact, there is just one thing I may change, and that would be Russell at 5 and Karthik at 6. That's the only thing that I'd be tempted to do, purely because I want to see Russell maybe absorb a bit more deliveries. We know what he can do. The man's got a ridiculous strike rate. I remember talking of the CPL, he scored 121 off of 49 balls against TKR in 2018. We saw him last season absolutely demolish the RCB bowling lineup at Eden Gardens.
Oh, yeah.
So I would maybe just be tempted to switch those two. But either way, it depends on the situation. Realistically, if you need the anchor, maybe go Dinesh Karthik over Russell and then bring him in for some fireworks at the end. But yeah, I agree. It's a fantastically strong middle order for KKR this season.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And the only thing I expect from KKR is not to be rigid in their middle order. They have those players. So I want them to be, what RCB has done over the seasons, be flexible about it and in a good way. So as you mentioned, if Russell actually gets those 20-25 balls in the last 7 overs, and we know what he can do. He has each and every ball is waiting to go out of the park. So if only Russell needs to bat at number 5, if let's say you are 100 for 3 in 15 overs, now I would ask to wait Dinesh Karthik and let Russell go in that position. So I hope the leadership group is aware of that and take decisions keeping that consideration in mind, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you there. And that's the most important thing, I suppose, with this KKR lineup, flexibility. It's such a wonderful thing to have in any T20 lineup where you can mix and match your players, and either way you're going to get a winning result. So yeah, fantastically strong middle order. But now moving into the lower order and the bowlers. Now this will be interesting, actually, Parts, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Who have you got for your lower order?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because KKR have to watch here. So are they talking to Pat Cummins and they're telling him, can you bat after Russell and can you bat at number 7? If not, they have to fill in either Rinku Singh or Rahul Tripathi over there at one Indian slot, because, if Patty Cummins can bat over there, they can put one more mystery spinner like some Varun Chakravarti.
Yes.
But if they are clear about that, if I would go for Rinku Singh, because he had a wonderful Syed Mushtaq Ali for UP, and he has been with the circuit already. It's been 2 years. He has been with the team already, and he knows the team's culture. He knows the captain, and I guess if the team management puts some faith in him, that okay, and even he could be used as a floater, just go around and number 3, tank around few deliveries. So Rinku Singh can be that slot which can come at number 7. He doesn't bowl though, so he's a wonderful fielder. So I think Rinku Singh can come in really handy at number 7. Rahul Tripathi, as I mentioned, he can start, but I would not put him at number 7. He would be my backup opener if anything, let's say, happens to Shubman, and then let's say, okay, Rahul Tripathi can open. So I think we are settled here. Rinku Singh comes at 7, then Pat Cummins comes at number 8, and then we can dig deeper into the bowlers right now.
Yeah, okay. Who have you got as your bowling attack then? This will be interesting because they've got quite a few options. But go on if you choose them.
For sure. I mean, now that we are here, we have already spoken about 4 overseas who will start. Let's say Narayan, Morgan, Russell, and Pat Cummins.
Yeah.
On a best day, big match against RCB, Mumbai, Chennai, these 4 will start, assuming that they are all fit and ready to roll. It's Dubai, so we don't know how the pitches are going to be. We do not know how Sharjah or Abu Dhabi is going to play. Considering the history of PSL, the wickets have been turning, aren't they?
Yeah, they have. In particular, Abu Dhabi, my goodness, that is a slow and turning track. I think the average score is about 135, 136, compared to 150 plus in both Sharjah and Dubai.
Certainly. So in that case, I got like spinning options. As I mentioned, Sunil Narayan will give me 4 overs, and then Kuldeep Yadav, he has to deliver. Yes. He has to come in good. Last season, he had a nightmare of a season, and he was actually dropped for the team. So he needs a big season this year to actually deliver those 4 overs along with Sunil Narayan. And if his overs were to be cut, let's say if we will not bowl 4 overs, and if it's a turn, it's again we're talking about Abu Dhabi wicket, Nitish Rana can come in handy and deliver some off-spin options. So coming to the bowling options, it's going to be the pace attack will be led by Pat Cummins along with Kamlesh Nagarkoti and Shivam Mavi. I will not start with Prasidh Krishna right now, even though he's experienced. I will put in some pace. I will go with 140 plus. Because if I need those 125, 130 kilometers per hour, I will actually give 1 over to Russell. So I'm not sure he's still the bowler which he was, He's still considering his back and his injury and
Yeah.
workload management. He will bowl. I don't think so. So in that case, in the beginning, I will start with Shivam Mavi and Kamlesh Nagarkoti as my frontline pacers, with Pat Cummins to lead the attack. And then Kuldeep Yadav and Narayan will give me 4 overs. And considering if any of the bowler is having bad day, you can have Nitish Rana, of course, to give a couple of overs here and there.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned Nitish Rana. Obviously, for those who don't know, I'm an RCB fan. He was quite good against us. He got both Kohli
He
and
got
De Villiers
Virat
out.
out, didn't he? He
Yeah,
got Virat out.
and De Villiers. He got both,
Yeah.
which was quite incredible, to be honest, for a part-time off spinner. But yeah, I like that. As you said, again, flexibility in the bowling options. For me personally, I would probably choose Prasidh Krishna over.
Right.
I'd probably choose him over Nagarkoti at the moment. With that
Right.
being said, though, as you said, in Dubai, for example, Dubai can be quite conducive to the real fast bowlers, as you said, the guys who bank in 140 kilometres plus. So potentially that could swing me. But in Abu Dhabi, you could use a guy who can maybe utilise his speed. And I feel like Prasidh Krishna can do that just slightly better, has a bit more control, has a bit more experience. But yeah, to be honest, either of those two, fantastic options. So just to go over your 11 then parts, just read them out one by one. Who would your starting 11 be for the Colchester
For sure.
Knight Riders?
Yeah. All right. So let's start with Shubman Gill, Sunil Narayan, Nitish Rana, Owen Morgan, Dinesh Karthik as captain and wicketkeeper, Ray Russell, Rinku Singh, Pat Cummins, Kuldeep Yadav, then Shivam Mavi, and then I'll add Prasidh Krishna just because you mentioned it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'd agree with you. As I said, I'll just read out mine as well. Only slightly different, to be honest. So Shubman Gill, Sunil Narayan, Nitish Rana at 3, Owen Morgan at 4, Andre Russell I mentioned at 5, but as we said, there's flexibility. Dinesh Karthik, as you said, captain and wicketkeeper at 6. And number 7, I have also gone Rinku Singh. I quite like that choice.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because, as you said, can provide a bit of stability. Let's say the middle order doesn't quite fire. He can provide a little bit of an anchor role towards the end of an innings. Then I've gone Pat Cummins at 8, Kuldeep Yadav at 9, Prasidh Krishna at 10, and finally Shivam Mavi at 11. So that is my squad, my starting lineup, sorry. And yes, should be a good season for KKR.
Should be a good season, certainly.
Yeah. And talking of that, let's just finish on the predicted finish then. Okay, this is the question that a lot of people want answered, Parts. Where do you think the Knight Riders will finish in 2020?
Before I bring that, I'd just like to add a little part about the bench strength they have. They have like-for-like replacement. They have like-for-like replacement. They went to auction for that reason this year, and they bought all the replacement which for any of those players to be injured. And it's a big IPL. It's a 14 games, of course. It's going to be hot. And if you need to manage the workload of your players, then you have seen the likes of, if Narayan needs to rest because you have the mystery spinner in Varun Chakrabarti, then Tom Banton can come up as an opener and start with Shubman Gill, of course. And I mean, he's a future. He's a serious prospect to watch out for. That's a very interesting bench strength they have. Tom Banton, Chris Green. If Pat Cummins were to rest, Loki Ferguson or Harry Gurney can come in. So they have another 2 medium pacers. And I guess Loki Ferguson will start in the first game since Pat Cummins would not be there. So they have those 2 medium pacers, and then they go to Abu Dhabi, and it's going to be turning wickets, and then they have this wild card as Varun Chakrabarti coming in 2 or 3 games as a mystery spinner, picking up 2 couple of wickets, and then that's his role. He will not start in 10 games, he will not start in even 5 games, but if he can give them those 3 games, which as a mystery spinner gives, they'll be really happy. And then very interesting, M. Siddharth, who had played actually at Tamil Nadu Premier League. I actually read about him yesterday. He's a Chinaman, and it's a rare breed to find of bowlers. It's super. So if Kuldeep will not have a couple of matches to drop out, they have actually a Chinaman to fill in the role. So that's a very interesting bench strength I'm looking at. And M. Siddharth can actually, if he start in a 1 game or even in the future seasons to come, that's a very interesting the squad overall we are looking at. Anybody can guess the top 9 of KKR right now. And that's a very good thing about this team this year.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm glad you mentioned the bench strength, actually. Rahul Tripathi as well. Let's not forget him.
Certainly, yeah.
He can be a fantastic opening option. Let's say they want to bring in Chris Green, for example, and you just put him up to the top. Could be very interesting. And as I said, I do think they are a very, very strong team heading into this tournament. So, Part, The all-important question. Where do you think they'll finish in the table?
I do not know where they will finish, but I'll be very surprised if they do not finish in playoffs. I'll be really disappointed because the team of this caliber and these players and this management, kind of the squad they have, I'd be very disappointed if they do not finish in the playoffs. And if they go to the finals, that's cherry on top. I think KKR will be the team to watch out this season. So I'll put my money on playoffs for sure in KKR.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, in terms of a table finish, I think minimum fourth. I think
Certainly.
in terms of my own personal choice, though, I'll put it in third. We mentioned they're such a well-balanced squad, and they just have such a nice blend of experience and youth. I think it's going to be a really good season for the men in purple. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching them in this year's tournament. So that pretty much wraps up today's show part. Just before we go, do you have anything to plug or promote, for example, any social media channels that you have?
Yeah, certainly. So I've started a new cricket channel, which is Cricket Honestly. I'll put the link in the description. And opportunity and what you are doing, Aaron, with your channel, it's wonderful. I've seen a couple of podcasts, and I think the sky is the only limit. So I guess follow that, and we can actually, give you the content about a spectator's point of view, what they would like to see in a game, and more analysis to follow. So yeah, please follow that, guys.
Yeah, definitely. For anyone watching at home, please do go and follow Part. I mean, he's a great analyst. He really is. Watch out for him in the future. I've got no doubt that he's going to go on to be very successful as well. But thank you as always for joining in the preview show, guys. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.